But now we're back on MediaMonarchy.com, and we're going to get into what we got into on the latest episode of NewWorldNextWeek.com. Econocrash, welfare, debtors' prisons, and dying communities. And again, we thank Cryptagon.com for breaking things down, giving it a more effective headline, like something from a horror film. Walmarts swell with poor people once a month at midnight. When the government's electronic dole payout goes through, once a month just after midnight, the beeping checkout scanners at a Walmart just off Interstate 95 come alive in a chorus of financial desperation. This is USA Today writing, however. Here, and at grocery stores across the country, the chimes come just after food stamps and other monthly government benefits drop into the accounts of shoppers who have been rationing things like milk, ground beef, and toilet paper and can finally stock up again. Shoppers mill around the store after 11 p.m., killing time until their accounts are replenished. When midnight strikes, they rush for the checkout counter. If this doesn't sound like Dawn of the Dead, shopping zombies, I don't know what does. We'll throw in a quick mention of the pro-foreclosure bill that slipped through Congress and made it to Obama's desk. But that's just a segue to get to allgov.com on debtors' prisons make a comeback in the U.S. America's jails are increasingly becoming de facto debtors' prisons as the legal system levies more fees than ever on individuals who wind up behind bars simply because they can't pay their bills or the administrative penalties imposed by judges. Both the Brennan Center for Justice, BrennanCenter.org, and the ACLU have both issued reports on the rise of debt-related incarceration, noting that courts are administering more fees these days as a way to make up for budget shortfalls. So even if you get acquitted, you could get put in jail because you can't pay court costs. A little note of irony, as we've noted in the past, the Postal Service, again another crumbling government-run organization. They want to cut service, they want to cut their days, they want to get rid of Saturday. Postal workers' union ballots lost in mail. And it's not the Onion. Dying communities see salvation in new prisons. This from the Associated Press. Although rural communities have successfully lobbied for and built prisons for years, not many studies have been done on their economic impact. Some studies indicate slight economic gains for some prison towns, according to a Congressional Research Service report in April, with a link for you. Others that have become prison anchors might have not grown as fast as those without prisons. Florence, Colorado, where a federal prison complex went up in 1994, was once a major oil producer and gold smelting center, and now has some new businesses. New federal prisons have recently started hiring in West Virginia, which has seen a decline in coal jobs, and in an impoverished farming community in California. Others are also being built in Mississippi and Alabama. This is what it comes to when your only growth industry, the only thing that employs people, is working to enslave people or destroy people or kill them, quickly or slowly, whether you're building weapons of war for the booming military-industrial complex, and of course they're connected intimately to the private military contractors that run prisons, for-profit prisons. This is what we're turning into. And it's starting to get really close to home, my friends. I do have posted up below this Econocrash, welfare, debtors, prisons, and dying communities post that, again, is linked to from the latest episode of NewWorldNextWeek.com. There's even more. Pack Alert Press.com has their martial law alert, banking collapse scenarios for the fall and winter of 2010. And we'll just try and quickly break down their situation. We can't get fully into it. As the price of gold reaches new heights over $1,300 per ounce and counting, and silver climbs to over $23 per ounce, the financial situation in America is dire, to say the least. If another major terror attack such as 9/11 occurs, Trends forecaster Gerald Celente has stated that the event would bring the banking system to a complete halt, which would then result in a bank holiday. Celente is not alone. For every year, many others have warned of an upcoming bank holiday, and with our economy already in free fall, it wouldn't take much of a national and/or worldwide terror event to completely crash our fiat dollar-based system in a very short period of time. Upon the crash of the dollar, more bank holidays could be declared and oppressive emergency banking powers could go into effect. See the Emergency Banking Act of 1933. These include severely limiting consumer withdrawals and a recall of physical gold holdings. Taking Presidential Decision Directive 51 into account, PDD 51, even a major stock market crash could trigger this scenario. And again, once PDD 51 is invoked, then martial law could be fully implemented. And another way the collapse of the banking system could lead to a martial law scenario is, of course, through cyber attacks. The I-9/11 we have warned about for so long now on this show. I'm not the best person to tell you what to do or to tell you how to get prepared, because I'm not as prepared. I'll tell you that right now. But we should all get to work, to say the very least. Tight budgets lead to more civilians used for policing. That's from USA Today. As we've noted time and time again, so many of these developments seem like a dystopic 70s sci-fi flick now come to life. We'll all be jammed in compact cities. There'll be massive, growing swarms of homeless people. Sometimes they're zombies. And if you're lucky enough to have a job, you'll be a corrupt little crony working for the enforcement arm of whatever boss hog NWO minion happens to run your subdivision sector. So it's even higher than I just mentioned in that Pack Alert Press article. Gold hits new record high. It's now at $1,388. That's $1,388 an ounce. ZeroHedge.com asks you to meet Danielle and Jim plus 9. The squatters who reclaimed their foreclosed home last weekend. As we've noted, we hope people take over the malls and the golf courses and all of that. And those could sort of be the positives in a overall bad situation. Obama will not ban home repossessions fraud. More on that from the BBC. Tarpley.net has advice to desperate Democrats: ignore Wall Street puppet Obama and demand a 5-year freeze on foreclosures. Period. And we'll close this out with Foreclosure Gate. Officials in all 50 states have launched Foreclosure Gate investigations.
Uncertainty surrounding the legality of many foreclosure proceedings is getting even deeper. Officials in 50 states and the District of Columbia have launched a joint investigation and allegations the mortgage companies improperly foreclosed on hundreds of thousands of homeowners.
Well, we've got a mess right now. The banks have been arrogant about this. They have not paid attention to state laws, kind of going on their own way when they wanted, where they wanted, and they're going to have to come into compliance.
The probe, which will also include bank regulators, will examine whether mortgage company employees made false statements or prepared documents improperly. Whatever the cause, it's leading to much confusion for many homeowners. Paula Dauberstein of Lee County, Florida, didn't even know that her property was in foreclosure. She was looking into a loan modification when she found out papers had already been filed.
And I said, I don't have any. He said, what do you mean you should have them? I said, I never received them. He said, you got to go to courthouse and get them. So I went to the courthouse, like a 22-page document. I'd never received it. And come to find out, Carver & Associates did some backtracking, and it was said that they tried to serve me 3 or 4 times at the house. I wasn't home. I'm home. I'm here every night. I mean, I don't go anywhere.
The allegations raise the possibility that foreclosure proceedings across the country could be subject to legal challenge. Some foreclosures, like one affecting Jeffrey Miller of Rock Hill, New York, could even be overturned.
The more blogs that I've read and the more information I gathered, I realized that the bank that was suing me did not have the authority or the documentation to sue me.
Some proceedings have already been halted. Ally Financial, Bank of America, and JP Morgan Chase are now reviewing their documents. But other banks, including Citigroup and Wells Fargo, have not stopped, saying they have done nothing wrong.
Now, did you catch where he said he had been getting his news and doing his research? Did he say it was Fox and CNN and MSNBC? Oh, no, that's right. He said it was from alternative media. The only place he could really find out what the hell's going on and get any kind of context or research. And there you go. So, banksters illegally foreclose on your home. And again, we're just touching the tip of the foreclosure gate iceberg. And this gets into things called robo-signing and MERS and all kinds of not complicated things, but a bit too much minutia to get into right here. But of course, you should know it's bad. Banksters knowingly screwed you. That's essentially what it always comes down to, doesn't it? So, when you're screwed out of your home, then you're on the dole if you weren't already. So, you know, if you don't have a home, you may as well go mill around Walmart while you're waiting for the electronic dole to go through, if it goes through, fortunately, because, you know, there have been all that talk about people's credits being turned off and they were unable to, you know, to buy anything. So when you're screwed out of your home and then you can't even get your cheap Chinese-made genetically modified garbage from Slave Mart, come on down to Portland, Oregon, my friends, because my county that I'm sitting in right now, Multnomah County, it contains the city of Portland, so it's, of course, the most populous county in the state. Oregon County decriminalizes heroin, meth, coke, shoplifting, and more. Stephen Webster, writing for Raw Story, fortunately brings us this story. It's crunch time for many municipalities across the United States, but for one county in Oregon, that means a little more than in most. The district attorney in Multnomah County, the state's most populous area with over 710,000 residents, announced recently that it can no longer prosecute dozens of crimes thanks to an ever-shrinking budget. Caught with small amounts of heroin, coke, or meth? It's a ticket. So's a hit-and-run accident. Small-time shoplifting? You'll still probably get arrested, but it's still just a violation. For these and other lesser crimes, the DA will simply refuse to prosecute. Still, police have been directed to continue operating as normal, making arrests as they see fit, and it'll be up to the county's attorneys to decide what gets prosecuted. So, their business as usual. That means they will continue to shoot unarmed, mentally deficient people who should be getting help, and the scourge of unarmed black men. That's my sidebar. In spite of the relaxed penalties for numerous crimes, chances are the drunk driver who recently rear-ended the county sheriff will see the business end of a judge's gavel, but it might take a while. Shrunk staff was recently shrunk by 27%, according to statements provided in a media advisory. In a perfect world, you commit a crime, you'd be prosecuted for what it is. District Attorney Mike Shrunk told The Oregonian, "We don't have unlimited funds." That's Mike Shrunk, S-C-H-R-U-N-K. Other crimes which the county will adjust to violation level include trespassing on non-commercial property. That means you can rob your neighbors, but don't rob the corporations, which is, of course, what they want. Theft or forgery in the second degree. Harassment, interfering with a police officer, interfering with public transportation, as I noted on NewWorldNextWeek.com, may become more common as the TriMet system gets worse and worse and worse. Raising fees, cutting service, paying more for less, and there are face-offs beginning. I can attest to that personally. Resisting arrest and criminal mischief in the second degree. The DA's full memo is available with the link for you. And we note, in spite of this budgetary mess, Multnomah County is one of only a few in the nation that is piloting a program that affixes GPS tracking bracelets to youths convicted of gang-related crimes, a practice, of course, widely criticized by civil rights groups. But, of course, when your community has been destroyed systematically by the banksters, what are you going to do besides rob and turn to gangs? Portlandia Crime Haven.